Hi, you're listening to the Business Essentials Daily Summer Series, the best episodes of 2022. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars. SoundCartel. Why do your customers choose you? Is it a question you've ever asked? Well, there's much to be gained from being bold enough to ask for feedback. From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Dan Williams is the Asia-Pacific business coach for global coaching network EOS Worldwide. He says there are 4 key questions that you need to ask yourself and your customers to maximise sales and the customer experience. Dan starts by explaining to Jeff Waters what those 4 questions are.
I can probably distill it down to 4 key questions, and they may seem obvious, by the way, but stay with me. First one is, when does your customer buy from you? So understanding what the compelling event is. What motivates them to buy? So what is it about what you're offering that makes them buy? Why do they choose you out of you against your competitors? And last of all, why do they come back? If they've left you, why would they come back? So these are the 4 key questions that I think that you really need to know to be successful in positioning yourself and selling your service or your product.
So let's unpack that. What was the first question again?
So the first question is, when does your customer buy? If you can really understand your client's industry or their niche, most businesses have a season. For years I was working in IT services, and one of our niches was education. And so on the surface, really obvious seasons, the school terms. But what we came to realise is that when the school closes from December through to late January, that's when they were most likely to move. They were most likely to do things in the business that is the school. So if you can understand the seasons, you'll know exactly when to show up. You'll know when your time to shine is and when you're going to be most relevant. Otherwise, you probably just go on the pile of things that are pushed to the side while they focus on doing what they're doing.
Can you explain it in terms of a service provider?
Yeah, so a service provider might have something that requires an onboarding phase. So just say, as an IT service provider, they often say that if the pain of change is greater than the pain of staying the same, that's the only time people will consider just staying the do nothing option. So if you can make the pain of change lower than the pain of staying the same, then people are more likely to do something. So if you know that as a service provider, like I've worked in the grain industry as well, they have harvest seasons. They won't answer your call. They won't talk to you. They don't want you to talk to them because they're harvesting crops, and as an example, you'll probably do more damage to your reputation if you are in there pestering them to buy your service when they're in their peak of their season, the cut and thrust of their business.
How do you figure out what motivates them to buy your product or service?
There's lots of books written by people far smarter than I am about the buyer's journey, but I can give you some insights into 20 years in business of some of the key elements of that. There's price, convenience and value. So if you know that the only motivator is price, it's quite simple. That's probably my least exciting exchange if it's just about price. But if it's about convenience, how accessible the service is, that kind of the pain of change, reducing the pain of change scenario again, then you can play to convenience, ease of use. And if it's value, that's probably the most fun. You get to demonstrate why you represent the most value. But if you can really zero in on which one of these is most important to your customer, then you can go there and focus that.
Can you just expand on the value part of that? How does a business explain what its value is?
So that's your opportunity. If you know that your customer is looking for a high value return on whatever your service is, and they're in that mindset of value, then you're able to play to that and show that you can enable things, efficiencies in their business. You can demonstrate understanding of what is going to make them a better business as a result of doing business with you. And that's a lot of fun because that's where you get to actually demonstrate an intimacy and understanding of their business, as opposed to buy this because it's cheap. Buy this because of what it can do for your business. And it's far more rewarding as well.
And you write that people should ask themselves why customers are choosing you. What do you mean by that?
So this is one of the things I love the most in my line of work as a coach, when there are lots of coaches out there, almost to the point when someone asks me what I do, I'm almost reluctant to say that I'm a coach. But when people do choose me, I often say to them, so why? Why did you choose me? And that's not something I've always done. I wish I had have done it more often. But if you can unlock why someone has chosen you ahead of a competition or another offer or something, another way of solving a problem perhaps, then you're now inside the mind of your customer. And when you're going to market, you're able to play directly to that. It might be a small sample size, for instance, but people are generally motivated by similar things. So if you can be bold enough to say, hey, why did you choose me? Then suddenly that conversation could be a game changer.
Some people might find that difficult.
Asking the question or responding to it? Yeah,
asking the question.
Yeah, I can understand that. But if you really value that customer that's in front of you and you're looking forward to working with them, the prize is finding more people like that. So if you know why they chose you and you can get uncomfortable for a moment, be comfortable with being uncomfortable perhaps, then the prize on the other side of that is doing business with more people like that.
And the question, why do my customers return? What can this reveal?
So this is something that probably is asked even less than why did you choose me? Often when a customer returns, we're just rejoicing that they've come back. We're happy. It's an opportunity to make amends. But if you can ask them, why did you leave and why did you return? Then you start to unlock a different element, is potentially a competitive advantage. If they've gone to another service provider and they've come back, then you'll know what the market is doing. You'll know what your competitors are doing and why that client or customer thought it was a better option to come back to you. It won't always be insightful. Sometimes I've asked that question, in fact, and the response has been, they were too expensive, or the deal that they offered didn't turn out to be what it was. We liked them, but you were cheaper. And that's not a great response, but if you keep asking the question, you'll get more and more insights. And I can remember someone saying to me, I liked the fact that I could contact the business owner. I didn't expect to call you every day, and I'm glad they didn't. But if things really went badly, I had your number and I could call you. And where I went, they offered a very similar service, but I was just a number and I couldn't access them. And so, lo and behold, that was really important to lots of other people as well.
Just finally, how does the online business environment affect all of this?
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I don't actually like going to shopping centres. But if I do, I have my phone with me. I actually have my phone most places. And on that is access to the product or service that I'm looking for when I'm shopping all over the world. And I can niche that down. And so suddenly I've got this point of comparison for anything that I'm looking at, any product or any service. So knowing your customer, knowing why they choose you, what motivates them, when they want to buy, you can show up. And the digital age has meant that we have a lot more control, sometimes a scary amount of control as a seller, but we're able to really position ourselves and use that as a platform to make sure that we show up first and that our value proposition is clear. Otherwise, we sort of fade into nothingness in the background with everyone else on those oodles of screens of Google search responses.
That was Dan Williams, Asia Pacific business coach for EOS Worldwide. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow @BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.